and that some of them were extensively engaged in trade with the countries around. Balfour, Edward, Surgeon General, The Encyclopedia of India and of Eastern and Southern Asia, 3rd edition. Bernard Quaritch, Quaritch, publishes, 1885. Under heading Afghanistan, page 31, Pashtun is the national appellation of the Afghans proper, but Afghans and Pathans also designate themselves Bani Israel. Pashtun is the individual and Pashtuna the collective name of the Afghans. This word is described as of Hebrew, Ibrani, origin, though some of them say it has a Syrian, Suryani, source, and signifies delivered and set free. The term of Afghan is also said to have the same signification. One tradition is that the mother of Afghan, or Afghana, on his being born, exclaimed, Afghan, I am free, and gave him this name. Another tradition is that in the pangs of labor she exclaimed, Afghan, Afghan, or Fikhan, words which in Persian means woe, grief, alas. Afghan is claimed as the designation only of the descendants of Qais. The term of Pathan is said to be from Pikhtan, a titular appellation to have been bestowed by Muhammad on an Afghan called Qais. Their origin is involved in obscurity, but several writers consider them to be descendants of one of the 10 tribes of Israel, and this is an opinion of some Afghans themselves. A few authors consider that this nation is not of Jewish origin, but that those who introduced the Mohammedan religion amongst them were converted Jews. Then on page 34, on the authority of Elphinstone's work called Kingdom of Kabul, pages 182 to 85, it is written, quote, Among the Yusufzai, no man sees his wife till the marriage ceremonies are completed, and with all the Bardurani there is great reserve between the time when the parties are betrothed and the marriage. Some of them live with their future father-in-law and earn their bread by their services, as Jacob did when he wanted to marry Rachel, without ever seeing the object of their wishes. Among the Afghans, as among the Jews, it is thought incumbent on the brother of the deceased to marry his widow, and it is a mortal affront to the brother for any other person to marry his widow, and it is a mortal affront to the brother for any other person to marry her without his consent. Next work is Narrative of a Mission to Bokhara in the years 1843 to 45 in 2 volumes. The Reverend Joseph Wolff, Wolff, D.D., LLD, publisher John W. Parker, London, 1845, Volume 1, 2nd edition. These are quotes from the work. Page 9. From various conversations with Afghans in Khorasan and elsewhere, I learned that some of them are proud of an origin from the children of Israel, but I doubt the truth of that partial tradition. Page 13. All the Jews of Turkestan assert that the Turkomenians are the descendants of Togarmah, one of the sons of Gomar, mentioned in Genesis 10:3. Page 14. The Jews in Bokhara are 10,000 in number. The chief rabbi assured me that Bokhara is the Chabor, and Balch the Khalach of the 2nd Kings, 18:6, but that in the reign of Genghis Khan they lost all their written accounts. At Balch, the Mussulman mullahs assured me that it was built by a son of Adam, that its first name had been Hanach, and afterwards Halach, though later writers called Balach or Balch. The Jews, both of Balch and Samarkand, assert that Turkestan is the land of Nod, and Balch where Nod once stood. Page 15. The tradition is an old one at Bokhara that some of the 10 tribes are in China. I tried the Jews here on various points of scriptural interpretation, particularly that important one in Isaiah 7:14, virgin. They translated it as we Christians do, and they are in total ignorance of the important controversy between Jews and Christians on this point. Page 16. I obtained a passport from the king after this most interesting sojourn, and then crossed the Oxus and arrived after a few days at Balkh, B-A-L-K-H, and from that city, where I also communed with the dispersed of Israel, I proceeded to Muzaur. Some Afghans claim a descent from Israel. According to them, Afghana was the nephew of Asaph, the son of Berat Shah, who built the Temple of Solomon. The descendants of this Afghan, being Jews, were carried into Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar, from whence they were removed to the mountain of Goreh in Afghanistan, but in the time of Muhammad turned Mohammedans, they exhibit a book, Majmu'a al-Ansab, or collection of genealogies written in Persian. From page 17, this quote, "Hence I passed to Peshawar. Here I had also the singular book read to me of the origin of the Afghans, the Pushtu book of Khan Yechaun Lote. The account in this book agrees with that given in the manuscripts Temur Namech and Ketaub Ansbe Muhakektosa. I thought the general physiognomy not Jewish, but I was wonderfully struck with the resemblance that the Yusufzeye and the Khalibareye, two of the tribes, bear to the Jews. The Khafreseach Push, if Afghans, vary widely from the rest of their nation. Many travelers have thought them the descendants from Alexander's army, but they do not say so." From page 18, "I always thought that the Khafreseach Push were descendants of Israel, and some of the learned Jews of Samarkand are of my opinion." Pages 19 and 20. "Captain Riley, I was surprised to find, looked on the Afghans as of Jewish descent." Page 58. "I spent 6 days with the children of Rachab Bani Arbal. With them were children of Israel of the tribe of Dan, who reside near Terim in Chetramawal, who expect, in common with the children of Rachab, the speedy arrival of the Messiah in the clouds of heaven." Volume 2, 131. It is very remarkable that the prophet Ezekiel, in the 27th chapter, 14th verse, gives an exact description of the trade carried on by the Turkomanians with the inhabitants of Bokhara, Khiva, and Khokhand. The prophet says, "They of the house of Togarmach," that is, the Turkomanians, "traded in their fairs with horses and horsemen and mules. The Turkomanians, to this day, like the Jewish guards, are mercenaries and let themselves out for a few tengas a day. It is also remarkable that I frequently heard the Turkomanians call themselves Ramach, and the Jews call them Togarmach. Viewing the hosts of camels coming with merchandise from Kashmir, Kabul, Khokhand, Ketai, and Orenboch, the passage of Isaiah 9:6, "The multitude and camels shall cover thee, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, all they from Sheba shall come, and they shall bring gold and incense." Mentioning gold, I must not forget that near Samarkand there are gold mines and turquoises. From page 236. A few words on the children in the mountains of Kurdistan. These children, as the late lamented Dr. Grant well observed, are of Jewish origin, though I cannot go so far as to affirm that they are of the 10 tribes, since they do not know their own genealogy. They are now mostly Christian. They resemble mostly the Protestants of Germany and England, for they have neither images nor monasteries, and their priests are married. The episcopal dignity, however, is hereditary, as well as that of the patriarch, and at the time the mother of the patriarch becomes pregnant, she abstains from drinking wine and eating meat, and in case that a son is born, he is the patriarch, and if a daughter, she is obliged to observe eternal virginity. Next cited a work called The Lost Tribes by George Moore, M-O-O-R-E, M.D. On page 143, quote, "We are attracted at once to a country of vast importance in the present aspect of the East, and the more interesting to us as we find there a people who profess to be the Beni Israel, or descendants of the 10 tribes, namely Afghanistan and the adjacent countries." On page 145, "The prominent reasons for thinking that certain classes of the people of Bokhara and Afghanistan are of Israelitish origin are these. First, their personal resemblance